Do you want to speak English better, but you feel stuck? Maybe you study sometimes, watch videos, or learn new words, but your progress feels slow. The truth is simple: English improves when you practice it every day. You do not need to be perfect. You do not need expensive courses. You do not need to know thousands of words before you start speaking. What you need is daily practice. Small practice every day is more powerful than studying once in a while. Many people wait for the perfect time to learn, but progress comes from consistency, not waiting. Even 10 or 15 minutes a day can create real change over time. In this video, you will learn why daily practice matters, how to build an English routine, and simple ways to improve your speaking, listening, reading, and confidence. If you are ready to grow, like the video, subscribe to the channel, and let's begin. Why daily practice works. Learning a language is like building any other skill. Just like exercise strengthens the body or music practice improves performance, regular English practice strengthens your ability to understand and use the language. The more often you use English, the more natural it starts to feel. Daily practice keeps the language active in your mind, which is very important for long-term improvement. When you practice regularly, your brain gets repeated contact with vocabulary, grammar, pronunciation, and sentence patterns. Because of this repetition, words become easier to remember and easier to use. Instead of translating everything slowly in your head, you begin to recognize words faster and respond more naturally. Sentences start coming to your mind with less effort because your brain is becoming familiar with how English works. Daily practice also improves understanding. The more you listen and read, the easier it becomes to notice common expressions, sentence structure, and meaning. At first, English may feel fast or confusing. But with regular exposure, your brain adapts. What once felt difficult starts to feel clearer and more comfortable over time. Long breaks can slow learning because language needs repetition. If you study once in a while and then stop for many days, it becomes easier to forget words, lose confidence, and feel like you are starting again. This can make progress feel frustrating. Even short daily practice is often better than long study sessions done only sometimes. The biggest secret is that small progress adds up. 10 minutes a day may not seem like much in one moment, but after weeks and months it becomes a powerful habit. New words grow into vocabulary, short speaking practice grows into confidence, and small efforts grow into real results. That is why daily practice works so well. Tip 1. Speak even if you make mistakes. Many learners wait too long to speak because they believe they need perfect grammar, a large vocabulary, or a strong accent before they can start. They want to feel fully ready first. But in language learning, readiness often comes after practice, not before it. If you keep waiting for the perfect moment, you may delay the very activity that would help you improve the fastest. Mistakes are not a sign that you should stop. They are a normal and necessary part of learning. Every mistake teaches you something. When you use the wrong word, you learn the correct one. When your sentence sounds unclear, you discover a better way to express the idea. When pronunciation feels difficult, you learn which sounds need more attention. Mistakes give feedback, and feedback helps growth. Learners who practice regularly often improve faster because they allow themselves to learn through correction and repetition. Speaking is powerful because it trains many skills at the same time. It helps you think faster in English instead of depending only on translation. It helps you actively use vocabulary instead of only recognizing words when reading or listening. It also improves fluency because your mouth and mind begin working together more smoothly. The more often you speak, the easier it becomes to form sentences in real time. Speaking also builds confidence. At first, you may feel nervous, slow, or unsure. That is normal. Confidence usually does not appear before action. It grows because of action. Every time you speak, even in a simple way, you prove to yourself that communication is possible. Over time, fear becomes smaller and comfort becomes stronger. You do not need a perfect environment to practice. You can speak alone, repeat after videos, talk with friends, read aloud, describe your day, answer imaginary questions, or record your voice and listen again. What matters most is using English actively and consistently. Even a few minutes of speaking each day can create real improvement over time. The goal is not perfect English. The goal is active practice. Perfection can wait. Progress begins the moment you start speaking. Tip 2. Listen every day. Listening is one of the most important parts of learning English because it trains your ears to understand the language the way it is naturally spoken in real life. Many learners study grammar rules, memorize vocabulary, and understand written English quite well, yet they still feel lost when someone speaks at normal speed. This happens because reading and listening are different skills. Reading gives you time to think, pause, and analyze each word, while listening happens in real time. The words arrive quickly, sounds connect together, and there is no pause button in normal conversation. That is why listening practice is essential. It helps close the gap between what you know on paper and what you can understand in real situations. When you listen every day, your brain becomes more familiar with the sounds and patterns of English. You begin noticing pronunciation, rhythm, stress, and the way sentences naturally flow. You start hearing how words connect together in fast speech and how common expressions are used by native speakers. At first, everything may sound too fast, unclear, or difficult to separate. This is normal for every learner. But with repeated exposure, your ears begin to adapt. Your brain starts recognizing sounds more quickly, understanding meaning faster, and predicting common patterns in conversation. What once felt confusing slowly becomes clearer and more comfortable over time. Listening also improves your own speaking and pronunciation. When you hear correct English regularly, you build a mental model of how the language should sound. You notice where the voice rises or falls, which syllables are stressed, and how natural speakers pause between ideas. Even before you become confident in speaking, regular listening prepares your mouth and mind to copy more natural pronunciation later. The more quality English you hear, the more natural your own speech can become through imitation and repetition. Good listening creates stronger speaking. A smart way to practice is to choose material that matches your current level. If the content is far too difficult, you may feel frustrated and lose motivation. If it is too easy, you may not challenge yourself enough to improve. The best material is something you understand partly while still learning new words, sounds, and expressions. This balance keeps practice useful and enjoyable. Short podcasts, YouTube videos, interviews, movies, audiobooks, and simple conversations can all be helpful when chosen at the right level. What matters most is regular exposure to clear and understandable English. It is also important to listen actively, not only passively. Passive listening means hearing English in the background without much attention. Active listening means focusing on meaning, repeating useful phrases, noticing pronunciation, listening again, and trying to understand more each time. You do not need to understand every word to benefit. Focus first on the main idea, then catch more details with repetition. Improvement often happens layer by layer, not all at once. Consistency matters more than long sessions. You do not need hours every day to improve. Even 10 or 15 minutes of focused listening daily can create powerful progress after weeks and months. The more you hear English, the more familiar it becomes. And the more familiar it becomes, the more relaxed and confident you feel when real conversations happen. Listening every day is one of the simplest and strongest habits for building real English ability. Tip 3. Read to grow vocabulary. Reading is one of the best ways to grow your English vocabulary because it shows you words in real context instead of as isolated lists to memorize. When you read, you do not only see a new word, you also see how it is used inside a sentence, what words often come near it, and what meaning it carries in that situation. This makes learning more natural and more effective. Instead of trying to remember random vocabulary, your brain connects the word to an idea, a story, or a message. Those connections help memory become stronger and make it easier to use the word later in speaking or writing. Reading also helps you understand sentence structure. By seeing many sentences again and again, you begin to notice how English ideas are organized. You naturally learn where verbs go, how questions are formed, how descriptions are added, and how common expressions appear in everyday language. This is powerful because it teaches grammar through exposure, not only through rules. You start recognizing what sounds natural because you have seen it many times before. Over time, correct sentence patterns begin to feel familiar and easier to produce yourself. Another great benefit of reading is that it improves comprehension and thinking in English. When you read regularly, your brain becomes faster at understanding meaning without translating every word into your first language. At first, you may translate often, but with consistent practice you begin understanding directly in English. This is an important step toward fluency because real communication becomes easier when meaning comes naturally and quickly. You do not need difficult books to improve. In fact, simple material is often the best place to start. Short articles, stories, captions, graded readers, blogs, or easy books can all be excellent choices. The goal is not to read the hardest text possible. The goal is to read something you can understand while still learning new things. Material at the right level builds confidence and keeps learning enjoyable. It is also important not to stop for every unknown word. If you pause constantly, reading becomes slow and frustrating. Try first to understand the main idea of the sentence or paragraph. Often, context helps you guess the meaning of new words. If a word appears many times or seems important, then you can check it later. This method keeps your reading flow strong while still allowing vocabulary growth. Reading a little every day builds strong language habits. Even 10 minutes daily can create big results over time. New words accumulate, sentence patterns become familiar, comprehension improves, and confidence grows. Small daily reading may seem simple, but repeated consistently it becomes one of the strongest tools for learning English. Tip 4. Write something small daily. Writing is one of the most effective ways to improve your English because it helps organize your thoughts clearly in the language and turns ideas into real communication. When you speak, everything happens quickly, and you may not have much time to think about grammar, vocabulary, or sentence structure. But writing gives you the chance to slow down, think carefully, choose better words, and build sentences step by step. This slower process is powerful because it creates deeper learning. You are not only using English in the moment, you are also training your mind to understand how English works while you use it. That extra time to think helps many learners become more accurate and more confident. Writing also gives you direct practice with vocabulary, grammar, and sentence building in a very active way. When you try to express an idea on paper, you quickly discover the difference between what you recognize and what you can actually produce. Maybe you understand a word when reading, but cannot remember it when writing. Maybe you know a grammar rule, but it feels harder to apply it in your own sentence. These moments are extremely useful because they show exactly where improvement is needed. Instead of guessing what to study, your writing reveals it naturally. Every sentence becomes practice, and every mistake becomes feedback that can help you grow stronger next time. Another important benefit of writing is memory. Words and structures you use actively are often remembered better than words you only read or hear passively. When you write a new word in your own sentence, it becomes connected to your personal ideas and communication. That personal connection makes the word easier to remember later. Instead of being just another word from a list, it becomes something you used for a real purpose. Over time, this helps vocabulary stay longer in your memory and become easier to use naturally in speaking and future writing. You do not need to write long essays or advanced texts to improve. Small daily writing is enough when it is done consistently. You can write a journal about your day, a short paragraph about your thoughts, a to-do list, a daily plan, answers to simple questions, social media comments, or a few sentences about something new you learned. You can even describe what you see around you or write about your goals for the week. The goal is not perfect writing. The goal is regular contact with the language. Even 5 or 10 minutes a day can create strong progress over time because consistency builds skill faster than occasional long study sessions. It is also helpful to review what you write after finishing. Read your sentences again and ask yourself if they are clear and natural. Check grammar, spelling, punctuation, or word choice when possible. You can use corrections from teachers, language partners, dictionaries, or learning tools to improve accuracy. This review process is valuable because it turns writing into a full learning cycle. Create, notice mistakes, correct them, and improve. Each time you repeat this cycle, your English becomes stronger. Writing turns passive knowledge into active skill. Many learners understand more English than they can produce, and that is normal. Writing helps close that gap by forcing you to create language from your own mind instead of only recognizing it from others. It trains you to express ideas clearly, think in English more often, and communicate with greater confidence. Over time, your sentences become smoother, your vocabulary becomes stronger, and using English starts to feel more natural in every part of learning. Tip 5. Build a simple routine. Many learners believe they need long study hours, expensive courses, or perfect conditions to improve their English, but that is not always true. Real progress usually comes from something much simpler, a routine you can repeat consistently. Studying for 3 hours once and then doing nothing for the next 5 days is often less effective than practicing for 20 or 30 minutes every day. Language learning grows through regular contact with the language. The more often you listen, read, speak, and write, the more familiar English becomes. Even short daily practice keeps English active in your mind and creates steady improvement over time. A routine removes the pressure of needing the perfect study day and replaces it with small actions that are realistic and sustainable. The power of a routine is that it turns learning into a habit instead of a daily decision. When something becomes a habit, it requires less mental effort to begin. You do not spend time asking yourself if you feel motivated today or whether now is the right moment. You simply do what you normally do. This matters because motivation changes from day to day. Some days you feel excited and ready to study, while other days you feel tired, busy, or distracted. If you only practice when motivation is high, progress becomes inconsistent. But when English is part of your normal routine, you continue even on imperfect days. This is where real improvement happens. Consistency often beats intensity because repeated effort builds stronger long-term results than short bursts of energy followed by long breaks. A simple routine can include all the main language skills in a short amount of time. For example, you can listen for 10 minutes, read for 10 minutes, speak for 5 minutes, and write for 5 minutes. In one short session, you train listening comprehension, vocabulary growth, speaking confidence, pronunciation, and writing ability. You do not need to do everything for a long time to benefit. What matters is regular practice. These small sessions may seem minor in one moment, but when repeated daily they become powerful. After weeks and months, those minutes turn into many hours of meaningful exposure and skill building. Small actions done every day often create bigger results than ambitious plans that are difficult to maintain. Another benefit of a simple routine is that it reduces stress and makes learning feel manageable. Many people quit because their plan feels too difficult or too heavy. They create schedules that look perfect on paper but do not fit real life. Then when they miss one day, they feel discouraged and stop completely. A smaller routine is easier to continue because it fits into normal life. It creates momentum instead of pressure. Success in learning often comes from making the process realistic, not dramatic. A plan that feels easy to repeat is often more valuable than a plan that looks impressive but creates burnout. It is also important to adjust your routine to your own life. If you only have 15 minutes, use 15 minutes well. If you have more time, you can expand the practice. Some days may be shorter, some days may be stronger, and that is normal. The best routine is not the most advanced or time-consuming one. It is the one you can follow regularly without feeling overwhelmed. Your routine should support your life, not fight against it. A simple routine is better than a perfect plan you never follow. You do not need perfect conditions to improve your English. You need steady action, repeated often. Keep it simple, keep it realistic, and keep going. Tip 6. Stop comparing yourself. Many learners lose motivation because they compare themselves to fluent speakers, advanced students, or people who seem to learn faster. They look at someone else speaking confidently and think they are too far behind. They see another learner improving quickly and begin to doubt their own ability. This kind of comparison can feel natural, but it often creates frustration instead of progress. Instead of focusing on learning, the mind becomes focused on feeling inadequate. Energy that could be used for practice is wasted on self-doubt. The problem with comparison is that you are usually comparing your private struggle to someone else's visible result. You do not see how long they studied, how many mistakes they made, how many times they felt embarrassed, or how much effort happened in the background. You only see the final image, confidence, fluency, or progress. Because of that, the comparison is incomplete and unfair. It ignores the hidden process behind their success and the unique path of your own journey. Everyone learns at a different speed because every learner starts from a different place and lives in different conditions. Some people have more free time, better resources, daily exposure to English, or previous experience with languages. Others are learning while working, studying, managing responsibilities, or starting from zero. These differences matter. Progress is not a race with one timeline for everyone. It is a personal process shaped by many factors. When you compare too much, motivation becomes weak because success starts to feel far away. You may think, why try if others are already better? But this mindset misses something important. Someone else being ahead does not stop your own progress. Another person's success does not reduce your potential. Their path is theirs. Yours is yours. The only path you can truly build is your own. A healthier focus is to compare yourself only to your past self. Ask simple questions. Do I understand more than before? Am I less afraid to speak? Do I know more words than last month? Can I read faster or listen better than before? These small signs of growth are powerful because they show real progress. Improvement is not always dramatic. Often it is quiet, gradual, and visible only when you look back. Your journey is your own, and that is a strength. You do not need to move like anyone else. You only need to keep moving. Focus on your progress, trust the process, and let consistency speak louder than comparison. The goal is not to be better than everyone else. The goal is to become better than who you used to be. Confidence comes from practice. Confidence in English does not usually appear before you start speaking or practicing. Many learners believe they need to feel confident first before they can begin, but in reality, confidence is something that is built through action, not something you wait for before taking action. At the beginning, it is normal to feel nervous, unsure, or even afraid of making mistakes. This lack of confidence is not a sign that you cannot improve. It is simply the starting point of learning something new, and every fluent speaker once went through the same stage of uncertainty. When you practice English regularly, something slowly begins to change inside you in a very natural way. The language becomes more familiar, less strange, and less intimidating because your brain is getting repeated exposure to it. At first, you may struggle to find words, pause often, or form simple sentences, but repeated practice helps your mind adjust and respond faster over time. You start recognizing patterns without thinking too much, remembering vocabulary more easily, and responding with less hesitation. Over time, what once felt difficult and slow begins to feel smoother and more automatic. This growing comfort is the real foundation of confidence, not perfection. Confidence grows because experience slowly replaces fear. When you speak, even in a simple or imperfect way, you prove to yourself that you can actually use English in real situations, not just understand it in theory. Each small attempt reduces hesitation because your brain learns that nothing bad happens when you try. Each mistake teaches you that errors are not dangerous, they are simply feedback. Instead of seeing mistakes as failure, you begin to see them as normal steps in learning. This shift in thinking is powerful because it removes pressure and slowly transforms nervousness into calmness and control. The more you practice, the more automatic English becomes in your mind. Instead of carefully translating every sentence from your first language, words begin to come faster and more naturally. You start trusting yourself more because you have already survived similar situations before, speaking, listening, reading, and even making mistakes. Familiarity reduces fear, and repetition builds comfort. This is why learners who practice regularly, even if they are not perfect, often become more confident than those who only study grammar or watch lessons without actively using the language. Confidence does not grow in silence, waiting, or preparation alone. It grows in real action, in small daily efforts, in speaking even when you feel unsure, and in continuing even when you make mistakes or feel slow. The process is simple but powerful. Practice first, accept imperfection, learn through experience, and confidence will naturally develop over time as your ability grows stronger and more stable. Improving your English is not about being perfect from the beginning. It is about building small habits that you repeat every day until they become part of your life. Listening, speaking, reading, and writing are not separate tasks, they work together and slowly shape your ability to understand and communicate. Some days will feel easy and motivating, and other days will feel slow or difficult, but both are part of the process. What matters most is not how fast you improve in one day, but how consistently you continue over time. If you stay patient with yourself and keep practicing, you will notice changes. Words that once felt difficult will become familiar. Sentences that once felt confusing will start making sense. Speaking that once felt uncomfortable will slowly become more natural. Progress does not always happen in a straight line, but it always happens when you keep going. The most important step is simply not stopping. Even small practice every day can create big results in the long term. You do not need to rush, and you do not need to compare yourself to anyone else. Your only job is to keep improving little by little, one day at a time. If this video helped you, like the video, subscribe to the channel, and stay connected for more English learning content. Keep practicing, stay consistent, and your English will improve more than you expect. Keep going, even when progress feels slow. Every small step you take in English practice is building your future fluency. Stay consistent, trust the process, and don't stop now, because your improvement is already happening, even if you can't see it yet.